That's DBUNI, gang stalking with the demon in unit number 55, who is stalking right above me in the living room where the fake sun and engineer light is aiming inside of the living room. That's a demon stalking in the path with light, just like Ontario PD did with license 8GEN638 at 12:13 p.m. And then the Ontario police flies right over in relevant position. They're gang stalking with the police right now. The audible activity is inside of the apartment where the demon in unit 55 with license 5WUB715 is stomping. That's amplified noise that's happening inside of the apartment under the fake sun where the entity is on in 2024, keeping the fake sun over my apartment. Where you hear amplification, that's what Ontario PD's role was via helicopter, and it's happening under the fake sun. That's the P.O.C. She's going to a mental asylum, and the demons that you hear stalking by a train are doing so by helicopter because they were already stalking with DBUNI. She's going to prison. All right, she's going to federal prison, gang stalking with the police, like everybody in units 33 through 64 who are monitoring on my device. Well, you will see on April 1st, 2024, the entity is gang stalking while I'm living in Los Angeles, where there's no sun over my front apartment. And I cannot hear the plane that's at that elevation, at that distance. This is the demonic environment. And you're looking at demons who are gang stalking commercial planes. Paul Leon is being removed from office. Gang stalking by Paul Leon is being removed from office. Talking with the population, which is identified through a specific environment that defies nature, juxtaposed with the specific environment in Los Angeles on the same day, at the same time, the removal from office by Paul Leon. Karen Bass's criminal engagement and federal group stalking and monitoring is also hereby certified. That was demonic pacing. The helicopter over the apartment building, they were already gang stalking me by helicopter with this psychopath, this sex offender that's monitoring my genitalia with the rest of the neighborhood in the city, while she's stomping with amplified noise. It's amplified in volume, it's demonic. The helicopter is flying over the building. This is what they're doing after 6 p.m. and they're flying over this apartment, like I documented on video, where these mental health patients are gang stalking with their children in September of 2024, where this fake sun is still here, and the same demons of the Ontario Police Department are flying over me here where the entity is gang stalking. These are demons pacing, flying over in helicopter, pacing, flying over in commercial plane, amplification of that which you cannot hear. You can't hear the Ontario train at Woodside Senior Apartments, inside of the car parked on Vine Avenue, inside of a car parked on at Fern Avenue, which is on the opposite corner. You can't hear the train inside of the apartment, nor is the sun going to be over Los Angeles, over my apartment, outside my living room window at 10 in the morning, over my front door at 12 in the afternoon, which is speaking to no sun would be here at 12:05 p.m. like I am documenting now. And the police and the airport and the population are sharing in what is psychological torture while they're gang stalking. And they're also doing so while the police are relying on the gang stalkers that live at the apartment. That's why the police fly over in the video under the fake sun that's still here in the middle of the day, because that's how you know that it's reflecting off of 8VKP279's vehicle, the back license plate. Remember what I documented? And the entity that has this same fake sun reflecting off of the vehicle that's parked under the carport at 9:46 in the morning. It's still here. You also know when, again, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is gang stalking and this fake sun is still here. When I walk over to the people of the state, their apartment, like he did, gang stalking me, like the Ontario Police Department are, engaging in documented kidnappings as well. That's why they're being disbanded and they're still obsessed in stalking me. That's speaking to their mental illness. The amplified train activity, it's speaking to their mental illness. The fact that they have a whole operation of stalking me together, that's speaking to the mental illness of the police, of the pilots that are stalking in planes, of the mayor that's sitting in office, of the population that's gang stalking obsessively under a fake sun. Okay? That is, again, the entity that is gang stalking as a whole population, and the entity is doing so in an environment that is irreconcilable. The fake sun is remaining outside my living room window as I'm looking at on video, and as I look at it, a psychopath, a gang stalker, which is what that is right there, a gang stalker is stalking with amplified noise inside of the apartment. Okay, now he looks to be about a good 450 pounds, slamming his car door is audible activity, and he's doing so in this specific environment. By the way, engineer light is underneath. This is monitoring conduct while he is walking in this specific environment and is creating activity. All right, his license plate with the Ontario Police, he's already going to prison. License plate 6A42707, and see the fake sun move as I move. All right, this is where the fake sun is still reflecting off of windshields, and that's what's happening after 2 p.m. The fake sun is in the exact same position to be reflecting off of a vehicle that's parked in the parking lot after 2 p.m. and like a laser, it's reflecting off of a windshield and pointing into Tracy Banks's living room as you open the blinds, and the demon shadows are appearing, that's the entity that's gang stalking by engaging in surveillance over the apartment building, flying over as I begin capturing video, as I'm reading the license plates of the demons that are going to prison. This one, and DBUNI, she is living in this building right here. She's going to prison. She's gang stalked with the Ontario Fire Department as well, going engaged in criminal summoning. This is the entity that's under a fake sun that's not in Los Angeles, that's speaking to the specific environment where LA, just like Karen bases and Paul Leon are sharing in that domestic terrorism system that I'm exposing, the federal government's engagement in surveillance, psychological torture, and psychological warfare. These are the demon-possessed who are engaging in an ongoing campaign of psychological warfare while they are stalking me as a corrupt public entity. And this is going to be the comprehensive prosecution of that gang stalking system that is satanic. You need to know that Karen Bass serves Satan, Paul Leon serves Satan, Dominique Choi, that was formerly the chief of police, he serves Satan, and his replacement serves Satan. Okay, the entity is gang stalking, and their gang stalking is the outward demonstration of demon possession, and it is the prosecution for public corruption. And the mental health patient, her demon possession is shared with the demon that was stalking in plane, in helicopter, in alignment, flying over this building, flying over in alignment, coinciding with the vehicle driving out at the same time under what is a fake sun, and it's coinciding with what it is. The entity that's flying over by helicopter is engaging in ongoing ceaseless surveillance, which is evident by the fake sun remaining here. And not only that, this is what I'm looking at online. I want you to see. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and this is what is inspiring a demon that's engaging in criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. AVANATH, Linda Reyes, is going to prison as surely as you see the police gang stalking me where she works, as surely as you see her employer, while the government is gang stalking at the apartment complex. And this is where the fake sun is at 12:51 p.m. You already know that this is the specific environment. At 12:53 p.m., just days ago, San Bernardino County is gang stalking me while the fake sun, same time of year, is over my head in its zenith, and I'm in Los Angeles at my apartment. This is what I'm showing while I'm looking at the hillside at my apartment, unit number 6. Okay, and this is at 12:51. 12:51, the fake sun is still here. The entity is aiming engineer light. Okay, this is not sunlight, nor is that the sun, where the entity is engaging in the hallmark, stalking by helicopter, and gang stalking with amplified noise with simultaneity. The amplified noise, the engineered light, the concerted conduct of a population, they're mentally ill. These are psychopaths. As you are diagnosing their criminal activity with regard to federal prison and mental assignments, the required mental examinations, and also it is the entity that is engaged in the system of what is federal group stalking, monitoring, criminal surveillance. And surveillance is relevant to identifying the specific environment that defies nature. That's not the product of sunlight, and it certainly isn't while the sun is at the same time, even on the same day, remaining over me in Los Angeles. And this is what is inspiring. License 5WUB715, she is indeed gang stalking me while amplified booming is heard, while under the fake sun, which remains here because you know it's coloring this patio glass door after 5 p.m. like I documented yesterday. No one forgot, and it's here at 12, meaning it's still going to be here after 5 p.m. That is the concrete evidence of removing the law enforcement agency, Ontario PD, that's still gang stalking within the U.S. government's P.O.C., the Ontario International Airport that's going to be shut down, gang stalking within the U.S. government's P.O.C., and so is Woodside Senior Apartments. And there are a bunch of demons amongst engineered light under the fake sun that's still here after 5 p.m. like you saw yesterday. And today in 2024 at 10:37 a.m., this is where the fake sun is also remaining outside of my living room window. And this is what I'm looking at when I'm being terrorized inside of the apartment and the entity has what is a fake sun and not a cloudy day. It's not weather. This is light activity. It's analogous to using hazard lights, flashing light on and off, where a fake sun is over. This doesn't even have anything to do with the fake sun in the sky. And that's how you know this. Because it's this light activity right here. This is light. That's what you see opening up the door. This is an ongoing demonic pattern of conduct, creating the illusion of an environment that actually defies nature. And everything that's covered in what is light is engineered light that has nothing to do with the fake sun. This light remains here regardless of the fake sun being seen. And that is engineered light that's covering everything. And it's light activity while they move around, drive around, fly around, create amplified noise in it. And on this day in 2024 at 10:37 a.m., so that is between 10:37 a.m. and 12:51 p.m., there is no provision in the natural environment that the sun is both remaining over me in Los Angeles at my apartment, 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. Let me show you the light source itself. And also it is remaining, I'm gonna go ahead and get this. Here it is right here. It's over my front door as I walk outside to my patio. It's right over the top of my head, just like it is here. Right over the top of my head, just like it is here. This is not the Sky Space at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. This is not going to be the license plate of the group stalker 8VKP279. Criminal engagement, that third party and everybody else is gang stalking with the Ontario police who are flying. That is surveillance in a helicopter over the apartment building. Stalking with noise, stalking with light, stalking by residents. The gang stalker in Unit 55 who is criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment. As I look at that evidence, and then as I get to walk out to get video, the helicopter flies over, the amplified audible activity of a plane, which would be also impossible to hear. That helicopter will never create a vibration of the apartment. That's called sensational activity by demons who are gang stalking, engaging in domestic terrorism, and they did so on video while they are aware of the fact that they have been documented because they're monitoring my internet activity, and this is what is inspiring the ongoing criminal interference with quiet enjoyment and engineered light. Okay, if you look at the pictures I was taking, the engineered light was appearing on this wall, moving down in real time, and the engineered light is now on the ceiling. Here it is right here. The engineered light steadily moving like insects all across the wall. Stationary. This is where the Ontario police are exhibiting demon possession. I'm laughing not because it's funny. I'm laughing because they're going to be, and you are aware of their mental illness while they're engaging in spending millions of dollars on keeping me under surveillance. In the ways in which they just demonstrated, they're engaged in surveillance over the apartment building, and they're stalking with the demons that live at a senior citizen complex. This is what the Ontario Police Department are utilizing resources of a police department for, and they're doing so in furtherance of committing murder. They're doing so because they serve Satan. They're demon possessed. Their mental illness, which is proven by their criminal conduct, which is inexplicable and illegitimate as a corrupt government, it's because they're demons. And this is impossible light, and it's on what is my hand as I lift it up, and you're looking at the evidence of surveillance. That is what is covering everything. It's not the sun. That's the proof that the entity is gang stalking, which they also prove because they're stalking with the hallmarks that I've identified at the outset: by helicopter, by plane, amplified train, coloring what the third party in the parking lot is doing, stalking in the path. She's walking out of her apartment, getting in her car. She's monitoring me. She's driving out. The police are flying over. The airport flies over. There's no terminals over here where they're taking off. And you cannot hear the train over here. These are the elements of monitoring. And the engineer light inside is what is actually covering everything. The fake sun is a very highly unintelligent identifying factor. And you know that because of not only the character of the light, but because it's over me between the hours of 12:51 p.m. on this day in 2024, and it stays over me as I'm documenting on video in my living room. I'm documenting the pattern of conduct. The building of 1800 is what I'm standing on. The building of 1800 is on the opposite side of this hillside, meaning it's in that direction where I just stood. And as I stood in front of building 1800, this light source was in the same position in what was an entirely opposite direction. This is impossible, the opposite direction of my apartment. So I'm inside of my apartment, and the fake sun is outside of my living room window. That which is outside of my living room window at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, from 10:37 to 12:51 p.m. is not at the same time of year, on the same day, at the same time, remaining stationary, like you already know, because this is where the fake sun rises. And this is where, like you saw yesterday again, it's just feet away here, where demons stalk in the path with their hazard lights on, like I documented yesterday afternoon. In fact, let's get that license plate, because you already have that evidence and it's already published online, just so that you're aware of what the demons are doing, like I document on an ongoing basis. And demons that are obsessed engage in that pattern of conduct, and that obsession is exhibited. The pattern of conduct as I published it, let me go ahead and let me see. 1 second, let me go through my videos. This is the P.O.C. channel, by the way, where you can look at the pattern of conduct as I publish it online in real time on the website and on the P.O.C. channel. Hold on 1 second. Seconds later, it's... And this is the P.O.C. website. It's at thisisthepoc.wordpress.com, where I'm maintaining an ongoing consistent body of evidence to prosecute the United States government that's gang stalking via the state of California. These are a bunch of low-level demons. And when I'm speaking of low-level demons, I'm referencing Satan having the low-level demons. These are the ones I was supposed to be handled at the state level, but that didn't happen. And at the state level is also referenced with regard to so-called spiritual authority by demons who think that they're more powerful than they actually are. They're not at all. They have been defeated, and not only have they been defeated in the spirit, they've been defeated because I'm prosecuting them, and they are still obsessed with me. They're still stalking me, as the police, the airport, the population shows, also through the environment, not just their gang stalking behavioral pattern. The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct with regard to knowledge that it's being documented. And this is what I documented yesterday after 5 p.m. inside of the same apartment, where I'm capturing on this patio glass door. This is the engineer light that's magnified in size. This is the same engineer light that's framing the same front door. The entity is using the door as a means of, that's 8GEN638. They're gang stalking with the Ontario police. That's why they're going to prison. That old lady, she's going to prison. Her grandson, her son, they're going to prison. They're gang stalking with the demons, the same Latino male going to prison. And as fat as they are, they do not cause the ceiling and the walls to crack when they walk around. They're going to federal prison. They're gang stalking as an elderly community. And the engineer light that frames the door, this is the same engineer light that's framing the door after 5 p.m. This picture is captured at 5:22 p.m. where I'm capturing the specific environment that remains regardless of the placement of the fake sun. It's the same condition with regard to engineer light across the ceiling and across the walls and the ceiling, framing the inside, illuminating. This is surrounding with engineer light where surveillance is underway, and the demon possessed are engaging in surveillance. It's the evidence of stalking in an unfathomable and unprecedented manner that the U.S. government incentivizes. And this is the placement of the same fake sun after 5 p.m. This is what I'm documenting. I'm inside of the same apartment outside of this patio glass door where the fake sun is here right now at 12:18 p.m. And on this day at 12:51 p.m. in Los Angeles, not at 408 West G Street in Ontario, the entity has the fake sun, and there's only one sun. So the fake sun is evident of what is the malicious pattern of conduct outside of what the natural environment could ever encompass. Speaking to the malicious engagement and the psychotic iteration of a surveillance system, which is literally satanic. Those are demons stalking in a helicopter, demons stalking in planes, demons stalking as a citywide effort. DBUNI, that's her license plate. She's going to prison. And so is the Latino male that's driving in the truck. All he's doing is creating activity while a fake sun remains planted over Tracy Banks's door. And it remains planted here like I documented yesterday after 5:30 p.m. And the entity is maintaining this light source in perfect alignment with me, where the police are gang stalking in that environment. The police is spending millions of dollars. And this is what I'm taking a screenshot of to remind you about what I'm documenting on the morning of March 29th, 2025 at 9:46 a.m. where the fake sun is over this same exact apartment building, over unit 4847, that end of the same building. And that's where it is right now, 12:19 p.m. And that's where it stays. It stays over the same apartment building as I'm documenting in the evening, like I captured yesterday evening, where it is reflecting, it's piercing through the apartment of Tracy Banks's patio glass door after 5:30 p.m. This is the image that I'm capturing. This is the same patio glass door here. So it's 12 right now. After 5 p.m., it's still in alignment with me, as I've already shown. And this is where the entity is keeping the fake sun after 5. This is where the police are stalking. This is where the airport is stalking. And this is a satanic monitoring system. And that's the significance of elderly people who are stalking via noise. Stalking via noise is demonic, and it's also mentally depraved. It's demented. It's speaking to the criminal conduct, which is going to serve for the diagnosis of mental illness upon a federal prosecution. And that mental diagnosis is shared by the gang stalking police, the Ontario police, who are again on yet another day exhibiting why gang stalking police officers are going straight to prison. And as their mental illness is clearly exhibited through their POC, they are subject also to what is mental asylums. And their mental illness is already put at the outset of their the forefront of their prosecution, because federal group stalking and monitoring is very psychopathic. All right, it is very demented. It is done also in furtherance of a whole community that wants to murder and kidnap one person. And this is the demonic activity by a corrupt population. And it incorporates, the corruption of the government. The sun that's over me in Los Angeles is not creating any sunlight. That's how you know that it's engineered light. You further know that it's not sunlight and it's engineered light because it's occurring on the inside of an apartment. It has nothing to do with reflection, has nothing to do with anything that has to do with sunlight. And while you're looking at what is the engineered light that appears and disappears, you see how it's gone now? Those were demons, 8GEN638. They're gang stalking in plain view. This is all engineer light. This is all engineer light. And everything that's outside has nothing to do with the fake sun. This is breaking the illusion apart. This is all engineered light. All of this is engineered light presence and activity via plane, helicopter, train, via residence, via landscapers, by employees. They're going to prison at Woodside Senior Apartments, and they are under a fake sign, which is proven. And as I review that evidence, the entity engaged in this documented iteration of the P.O.C. by helicopter. They were sitting above the apartment building just like they were at 12:13 p.m. when 8GEN638 is gang stalking in the parking lot. I come out, I give video. The moment that I start capturing pictures, the demons that were already stalking in relevant position over the apartment building flies over in relevant position. That's exactly what they just did right now in the course of this video. Ontario with license DBUNI. They're engaging in surveillance while a demon maintains noise inside of the apartment as I review what is under surveillance on my devices. This is the conclusive prosecution of the state of California, which is engaged in the U.S. government's pattern of conduct of federal group stalking monitoring. DBUNI, again, federal prison. This is my shadow that's appearing very faint on the sidewalk. That's impossible light activity. And the entity is monitoring documentation in real time. That's what the Ontario Police Department just proved again. I want you to see how the fake sun moves as I move. This is where the fake sun is after 2 p.m. And it's supposed to be reflecting, doing the exact same thing that it is right now after 2 p.m. This is the highly unintelligent system. He's going to prison. 6A42707. This is a Latino male. He's going to federal prison. He's gang stalking. And there is my shadow over there. All right, just so you can see. There's my shadow underneath the cooler, and you've got the demons that are stalking around amongst the engineer lights, engaging in surveillance, engaging in monitoring, engaging in gang stalking, using the resources of a corrupt city. Paul Leon is being removed from office. This is exposing gang stalking mayors, terrorism in a state. All right, and Mike Lorenz is done. The Ontario Police Department is done. You have what is the gang stalking police officers that engaged in kidnapping. This is the criminal system they're engaged in. When they engage in kidnapping, they're going to prison with reference to the documented gang stalkers of the Ontario Police Department and the gang stalking Sheriff's Department. They're going to prison. They're going to be disbanded. It is currently 12:23 p.m. where the fake sun is going to remain here, as the evidence shows, hours from now when it's reflecting off of the same windshields that it is right now. And the entities engaging in the elements of monitoring relevant positioning, audible activity, and light activity, and their severe mental instability is put at the forefront of the prosecution, who was gang stalking with the elderly community in Ontario, California, in an unmistakable environment in order to identify it and prove it. And it's also speaking to the scientific phenomenon regarding the corruption of the government, who was gang stalking with a population in a very readily identifiable environment. Everybody over 55 at Woodside, including Linda Reyes, is gang stalking. In the video at 10:42 a.m., the Ontario police are gang stalking with Linda Reyes, who has her prop, her broom, and her dustpan at the dumpster, while the same police department is gang stalking me, and they're triggered by the evidence that I'm looking at on my communication devices. These demons, who are very severely psychopathic in their minds, they're going to mental asylums and prison. And Mike Lorenz is done with law enforcement. The entire police department of the Ontario Police, they're done. They're going to be disbanded, but they're also going to federal prison. That demon that is stalking and engaging in what is pacing, that is the outward demonstration of demon possession. They're pacing. You know their code of conduct because of the specific environment. That's actually a demon that's pacing. And they're doing so under the fake sun. That's not over my front door, outside over my apartment, over the top of my head at my front door in Los Angeles on the same day at 12:51 p.m. It's 12:25, and this is exactly where this fake sun stays, because the city of Ontario is a gang stalk, right? This is the entity that's stalking by plane, all right, plane and helicopter, all right. And the entity is engaging in what is, they're all of the gang stalkers who are the people of the state, they're being prosecuted for the ongoing documentation of their impunity. All right, so they're going to federal prison. The more that you document a psychopath, the more that psychopath will act out and further threaten you. You're going to prison and you're not getting out. You're going to mental asylums and you're not getting out. You know very well who the mental health patients are in 41. They're not getting out while their co-defendant is gang stalking in a helicopter and continuously doing so in order to prosecute both of them. And this is a company-wide effort as well. AVANATH Capital Management, civil and criminal prosecution for the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment while they're gang stalking with the city police department. And the entity that is gang stalking under the fake sun that's flying right here over me in a plane, and I'm laughing there because they're flying through the sun. That's not the natural environment. They're doing so while you are documenting it, and they're doing it more than one plane. This is the entity that is engaging in that with the people of the state. So the people of the state are being prosecuted for their criminal engagement in what is the surveillance system that the entity sought to do in furtherance of committing murder and kidnapping. And the more that I expose it, the more psychopathic their conduct is in the planes, in the helicopters, which is state action, okay? The people of the state are engaged in state action. All right, this demon amplified pacing, she's engaged in state action. And she's helping the gang stalkers in the helicopter, which are, again, gang stalkers of the police department. They do so to commit murder and then claim some sort of argument as to why they took your life. There is zero tolerance for domestic terrorism amongst the gang stalking police departments, such as the Ontario Police, in every documented one. This is evidence going against every single last one of their individual cases that are going under their name, such as Jason Knighton, such as Lester Keys, such as Jonathan Burnett, such as S. Patty, already, such as Corey Watson, if I hadn't stated him already, they're going to prison amongst many others that I documented. This is the very evidence speaking to the criminal conduct that they engaged in when they waged malicious assertions about crimes never committed while they were gang stalking, trying to kidnap and obstruct justice. And engaging in gang stalking with the intent to obstruct justice is as criminal and despicable. And the people of the state share in that. They're the ones that engage in criminal summoning. They're the ones that are gang stalking you and want you to stop documenting. They are the psychopaths. And this is Tracy Banks engaging in this P.O.C. It's happening, the fake sun's over her apartment, engineer lights inside of her apartment, gang stalking by helicopters happening inside over her apartment, amplified audible activity, the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment by AVANATH Capital Management is happening inside of her apartment. The entity is gang stalking and keeping a fake sun after 5 p.m., which is right here, while I'm inside of her apartment. An engineer light is reaching underneath a covered patio, a scientific phenomenon, not only based on the idle fake sun, but the appearance of light coming underneath a covered structure, and your shadow appearing above, light appearing and moving and disappearing inside of her apartment like it's insects, but it's light. Speaking to gang stalking, it's happening inside of Tracy Banks's apartment. This third party is going to a mental asylum. Tracy Banks is surely, as you see, the demons of the Ontario police pacing around the apartment building, monitoring me just like they were as licensed DBUNI is gang stalking with them, engaging in the corrupt bidding of the government that's engaging in surveillance on devices, and engaging in what is monitoring my genitalia inside of an apartment, having no warrant or probable cause, no legitimate interest in such sexually perverted aspects of gang stalking that it incentivizes amongst a whole elderly community. And remember, these old folks are just one, it's just one venue. The entire city of Ontario is gang stalking. Okay, it is currently again 12:28 p.m. DBU and I want to be clear, she's going to prison. And the Latino male, he's going to federal prison, whose license plate I documented. I will go ahead and capture screenshots and document it again. This mental health patient in Unit 55, license 5WB715, she's going to a mental asylum. They are acting, all of the entity I'm only speaking to who's going to prison based on who is engaging in the elements in front of me. They're all engaging in the elements as a property. AVANATH is being prosecuted civilly and criminally. AVANATH's employees are going to prison. AVANATH's employee Unit 41 is going to a mental asylum. And all the rest of the occupants in that unit are going to a mental asylum. Everyone in units 33 through 64 are going to prison. And the entity that's gang stalking through the police, through the airport, that is pointing directly to the public corruption, which you already know by the environment, then they engage in their identical pattern, behavioral pattern in that environment. And they are doing so triggered by the evidence of what it is that I documented on this day in 2024, where there would never be any sun over my head like I documented, where the police are flying in circles over this apartment building because a psychopath is in a frenzy while I document and read license plates and go through what is the pattern of conduct, both inside of the apartment building where people are going to prison, everyone in units 33 through 64, where the fake sun never leaves. And that's what happened in Los Angeles. The fake sun never left. And this is what's happening at Woodside. It never leaves. That's why it's still here as I document. Yesterday evening after 5:30 p.m., the same fake sun is what I'm looking at. Engineer light remains in the same manner. That defies nature, and it is a pattern of conduct that is documented on the record. And as I documented again on this day, the entity kept the fake sun as late as I'm still documenting the P.O.C. Well, I'm always documenting the P.O.C. The entity is gang stalking. LAPD is gang stalking at 1:42 by helicopter, just like the LAPD is. And this is what I documented yesterday. The Ontario Police Department is gang stalking at 1:04 p.m. when I'm documenting that extensive podcast. And at 1:42 p.m. I'm capturing video and I'm referencing this video because at the same time. So what happened yesterday with regard to the specific environment, as the entity would like to and very unpersuasively mimics, that's Satan, that's not God, not the creator, is wants to be God and engaged in a very unintelligent copycat mode of the environment, which is the way you're identifying the crime scene where federal group stalking monitoring is happening, and the ability to see the fake sun over you in Florida, in Louisiana, in Mississippi, in New York. That's identifying what the U.S. government is doing around the country, and I'm prosecuting the state of California while LAPD is gang stalking at the same time in helicopter in the specific environment. This is a group stalker while LAPD is crossing path in helicopter. Hi, this is P.O.C. Yeah, she's going to federal prison. That's the fake sun that's over me at building 1810 North Alvarado Street yesterday at today, April 1st, 2024, and yesterday at the same time is what I'm referencing when I'm documenting. Well, let me show you LAPD first. There's the fake sun over me. That's crossing path in close proximity. not coincidentally, that simultaneous conduct, that simultaneous presence. Remember, on the engineered light, demons stalking the path with light. That's what DBUNI is doing in concert with the Ontario Police under a fake sun, which is over me at the same time yesterday, which I documented on video while the entity is keeping the fake sun at around the same time, 1:43 p.m. The entity is gang stalking while the fake sun is going to be at the same exact location at 1:43 p.m. And you know that it's still here at the same location as the entity engages in rising the fake sun on this side of Tracy Banks' front door and setting the fake sun on this side of Tracy Banks' front door while it remains at the same location. Never is it going to be within a natural environment capable of being over the top of my head at 1:43 in the afternoon, over the top of my head at 12:51 in the afternoon, where you're looking at the evidence of what's happening in Ontario at Woodside, a very specific location and a specific city, an entirely separate region from Los Angeles County, and what is tied together, the behavior, the hallmarks, the harassment, the terrorism by that population that's in that remarkable environment that is irreconcilable, and it's also insurmountable. And it is the prosecution of a gang stalking government and a gang stalking population who's in the shoes of that government, not private citizens. That's federal prison for license DBUNI. That's federal prison for the gang stalker, the heavyweight Latino male, and license 8GEN638. They're already going to prison. They're in this building. They're Unit 47. They're going to federal prison by virtue of their presence in this building and in this very building where they're stalking like Unit 55 is, while I'm looking at damning evidence online, because everything that's happening online is under surveillance. That's stalking with noise amongst engineered light that is covering on the inside, and this is actually the character of all of the light that's covering everything. That's not the sun, nor is it sunlight. That's that satanic system of surveillance. And this is the nature of the environment yesterday, where the fake sun you see in the video is the fake sun that still stays here at this time yesterday. 1:43 p.m. Engineer light. You can hear the demon closing the door. This is the engineer light, just like it was during the cloudy state, having nothing to do with what is the fake sun in its zenith over me, while a demon crosses path whose name you know. That's Tracy Banks gang stalking. She's walking out of her own apartment. That's light activity and relevant positioning. And the entity is gang stalking on an ongoing basis as you are engaging in any activity in that environment that's designed for ceaseless and ongoing systematic monitoring, which is demonic, and it's also unconstitutional and inhumane. There's the fake sun at 1:43 p.m. and that's what I was comparing and juxtaposing to the ongoing course of conduct by the LAPD, just like the Ontario Police Department is doing under a fake sun that is on the same day on April 1st, 2021, remaining over me as a matter of video documentation between 12:51 p.m. and 10:37 a.m. I'm inside of my apartment. This was the sun, which you already know that it's not. I'm giving you, and the sun never left from being over my apartment at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. And as I document that, it's prosecuting the people of the state, and it's prosecuting the psychopath, the sex offender that represents a whole department, the Ontario Police, which represents the city, the municipality, the gang stalking mayor, the gang stalking airport, while they are pacing like psychopaths in a circle flying over the apartment. And you know that they're stalkers and psychopaths because they're already in a position, in relevant position, to fly over during the course of my video while I read that sex offender's license plate, DBUNI, who's gang stalking by residents, and the entity gang stalking by helicopter over the building, which means they were already over this same building stalking. And in this video, again, flying around in circles, that's called pacing. And it's called doing so while you're documenting in real time in an environment that defies nature. That's the demon-possessed Ontario Police. They have been fully, all of their dirty laundry has been aired out, and they are a liability to the people. Gang stalking me more on video, the people of the state are going to prison for even longer. The Ontario Police is already being disbanded, and every documented gang stalker of that Ontario Police Department is going to prison. And that entire personnel, that whole personnel, they're done with law enforcement. Domestic terrorism by the police is not tolerable under any circumstances, and there is no negotiating with gang stalking police officers who go around bearing badges, stalking in helicopters, and bearing weapons in order to abuse the constitutional authority that they don't even have. They're masquerading as legitimate while they're stalking very obviously in helicopter. It's a surefire prosecution. And this is, again, Mike Lorenz's public removal from the position that he has. This is what he shares with, I was documenting Dominic Choi. Dominic Choi, the current at the time when I'm documenting this, the current chief of police is replaced by what is nothing other than the ongoing grandfathered system of federal group stalking monitoring. They're still demons, they're still gang stalking, and so is Robert Luna of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. The entity keeps a fake sun over me wherever it is that I go, and this is speaking to the removal from existence, the Ontario Police Department. They are totally illegitimate, and all of the demons in units 33 through 64, they're going to prison because they're gang stalking with a very highly unintelligent agency who continues to incriminate them and cannot figure out how to stop with regard to their obsession. That's why they are subject to mental examinations. Their criminal conduct is directly attributed to their severe mental instability, and they will be subject to mental asylums, and they will be subject to what are mental examinations when they are placed in federal prison. And the entity is going to be prosecuted, identified as sex offenders. Gang stalking is an exceedingly violent sex offense. Speaking to what is domestic terrorism, and this is practiced by the United States government. And it's ongoing in California as I'm documenting and juxtaposing the city of Los Angeles and the city of Ontario, where the sun is not sitting in its zenith over the front door at Unit 51 as I'm facing south at the same time, and it's remaining over me as I documented between 10:37 and 12:51 p.m., where there's no deviation or movement of the sun. Neither is the sun maintaining this ubiquitous presence so you could see it here, and it's also over my front door and outside of that living room window over the hillside, where the entity keeps that fake sun both rising and setting. That's the ongoing insurmountable evidence of psychopaths pacing around, both on the ground and in the sky space. The airport, the police, the population, the residents, the employees of AVANATH, they're being prosecuted. It's currently 12:38 p.m. This is a very embarrassing pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. All right, and the entity is going to be subject. I want to make sure I reiterate. Linda Reyes is going to federal prison, and her impunity is hereby documented while the entity is gang stalking. They are affecting each other's fate, while as an entity, they are striving to murder and kidnap and psychologically torture one person. That bully system is going to be used against them. Her impunity is exhibited while the population, license DBUNI, license 8GEN638, license 5WB715, the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario International Airport, her impunity is hereby documented while I'm documenting video of the ongoing pattern of conduct, stalking and terrorism via engineered light by a gang stalking population, those who are residing at the venue for purposes of keeping me under surveillance, including in a bathroom. Sex offenders. This Linda Reyes is going to prison. And understand it's the same analysis for every gang stalking household who's engaged in that statewide P.O.C. That's why the entity kept the fake sun over me, both in the workplace where I worked at Alvarado Gardens and in my apartment where the entity was interfering in the private space where I lived, where the entity is keeping the fake sun over my apartment as I documented, rising and setting, and the entity is gang stalking me by helicopter, both in the workplace and while I'm in my apartment, keeping me under ceaseless surveillance, exhibiting severe mental illness. This is, again, 12:39 p.m., the documentation of what is the entity that's gang stalking me by name, who I'm documenting. Shanita Ramaya McLean. This is a documented third party who by name is engaged in gang stalking. Don't miss the point. The people that say whose name I know are engaged in not only gang stalking, as I've already proven, but those whose name I know, they're being prosecuted. This is exactly what they're engaging in, and they're not ceasing to be engaged in that criminal statewide effort. I know those defendants' names. They are being documented, and they will be prosecuted. If I know your name, you're going to federal prison. If you participated in the criminal acts of criminal defamation in any corrupt court in the state, you're going to prison as surely as you're watching me put these videos online and the entity is trying to simultaneously suppress it while still gang stalking me. You're going to prison. Shanita Ramaya McLean, Glenn Anthony Williams, Jason Isaac Fields. This is somebody that is still engaged in what is trying to practice ineffective voodoo, stalking me and spiritually attacking me and gang stalking me with the police, with the population in the specific environment. And that's exactly what they were doing, spiritually attacking me, gang stalking me while I'm remaining in Los Angeles. And Jason Isaac Fields, regardless of their position, how they want to present themselves, providing any testimony that's going to help the federal government, it is not sufficient. This is not an ordinary prosecution. You are not given 100% immunity and you get to walk off free after you conspired with the government to murder and maintain an experiment on the life of a human being who still remains subject to it regardless of any given testimony, regardless of any illegitimate interests of a corrupt government that never had any constitutional authority to engage in it in the first place. The entity that's gang stalking, whose name I know, they are subject to federal prison, and the government shall not only make the the target individual whole, they're going to be subject to a criminal prosecution, including that civil prosecution. This entity has stolen property, has tried to destroy property, and tried to destroy me and defame my reputation in doing so, while they thought that their witchcraft and their voodoo was going to work, and it didn't. And I'm still alive, and I'm prosecuting, and I'm documenting for purposes of showing how the damages are that which defy what has ever been recognized before under federal law. Okay, and I'm also speaking to what is an unprecedented basis of prosecution. The entity that is assuming that the system is going to go one way, in the same way that I have spoken to laws that need to come into existence because the federal government is engaged in the inhumane experiments that I am prosecuting, federal group stalking and monitoring on human beings. And there are rules and policies and laws that must come into existence because it is insufficient to provide somebody some unfettered basis of immunity, regardless of whether in fact they are cowered down and they want to protect themselves and provide any sort of testimony against the entity. They're still gang stalking. They're still engaged in psychological warfare, and you will be subject to what is a prosecution regardless of that. That is what justice requires. You don't get off by doing that. It's the government's pattern of conduct. The government is the one that's engaging the POC. The government's the cause for these psychopaths that are high school graduates that can't spell Constitution, that are wasting millions of dollars and given weapons and badges to fly circles like chimpanzees in the sky space under fake sun, demons. That's why the federal government has prevented and incentivized this public corruption that I'm fully exposing, and I'm also prosecuting it. And I'm also showing what is necessary in order to prosecute this. It is insufficient the way in which this system that's inherently corrupt, you're not going to have all the same rules in order to prosecute this. I don't care what demon provides testimony against the entity itself. It does not matter. You engaged in what is an unfathomable violation of one's human rights, aside from conspiring to murder and kidnap one and psychologically destroy them. You tried to murder their mind and their body. You are going to be prosecuted as surely as you see those psychopaths flying in circles over this apartment building. And that is, again, the demon-possessed gang stalker that is monitoring as an entity. And as I know you by name, I'm documenting you. I hope you understand that. As I've already exposed your identity, your address, your phone number, your image, I document you by name. I've already been your presence. I know you. I had a personal relationship with you. I'm documenting you. You're going to prison. And your co-defendants, they're the ones that are helping you get in exactly where you belong. And this is disincentivizing any gang stalker in the United States. If you're going to help the government, you think you want to go in on gang stalking, think again, because they're going to prison. It is currently 12:43 p.m. where the fake sun is going to remain here 9 minutes later. And that is in defiance of nature, speaking to the pattern of conduct that I clearly documented on video, because this fake sun is over the top of my head at my apartment, 1806 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California, 90026, as I'm standing on my patio and I walk into my apartment. Alvarado Street, apartment number 6 on the 3rd floor. This is P.O.C. That's Amazon Prime, which is the people of the state engaging in the sex offense and engaging in what is terrorism, which is practicing demonic and ritualistic methods of targeting someone. And those are demons that are just operating a commercial vehicle, okay? The same exact impossible engagement of what is an ongoing coincidence. They're engaged in a pattern. Okay. That's engineer light that's on my ceiling. This is engineer light that's on the ceiling. This is the same pattern of engineer light inside of the apartment, while the demons are stalking with an ongoing chorus and an ongoing chorus of amplified noise. The residents are gang stalking. The residents are engaging in psychological torture, and these demons are engaging in an ongoing campaign in the spiritual and spiritually attacking while they're physically gang stalking. And you are going to prison for that. I don't have to be in front of Shanita Ramaya McClain in order to prosecute her. She was gang stalking me then, and she's still gang stalking now. It's a statewide effort. And she's gang stalking with the police. She's gang stalking with the city of Ontario. She's gang stalking while I stay inside of this apartment. Understand how those facts work? While the entity thinks it's going to continuously gang stalk and there's some individualization of the pattern of conduct. No, you have all targeted together and you're all going to be prosecuted together. That's POC.